In this video, we will continue the tour of Nefertari's tomb, admiring the bas-relief murals on the wall of the vestibule as well as the side room of the antechamber. The most important among them is a group of murals related to the creation of human beings, which is highly consistent with the information revealed by Zacharias Sitchin in the Lost Book of Enki, which can be seen as one of the evidence for the hypothesis that extraterrestrial interstellar civilizations created Earth humans. Like the antechamber, the narrative structure of the vestibule and side room murals could be divided into two relatively independent parts from their entrances. First of all, on the wall flanking the entrance of the vestibule, there are two guardian goddesses, who are symmetrical to each other. They have all dressed in delicate costumes, only different headgear. On the left is the goddess circuit with a scorpion symbol on her head, who protects the people from poisonous animals and escorts the sun god Ra on his journey through the underworld. On the right is the goddess Neith, with symbols of shields and arrows on her head. Neith is the goddess of war and weaving, and one of the four goddesses responsible for guarding the sarcophagus of the deceased. After passing through the entrance of the vestibule, on either side of the pilasters are jade pillars that represent stability and evoke regeneration. Note that the anthropomorphic jade pillars were the same red girdle as Nefertari, implying that the Grand Queen has acquired the ability to regenerate. On the left-hand wall adjacent to the jade pillars, Isis, goddess of maternity and magic, takes Nefertari by the hand and introduces the Great Queen to the god Khepri, who sits on the back wall. The goddess Isis wears a tight dress with accessories such as delicate bracelets, armbands, fringed necklaces, and two tresses hanging down her chest. Nefertari wore a translucent ruched gown that was fluid and elegant, a perfect expression of ancient Egyptian art. The scarab Khepri marks him as an incarnation of the sun god. The god Khepri sits on a finely carved throne, identical to the thrones of the two deities on the other side of the back wall, with scaly decorations and symbols representing the unity of Upper and Lower Egypt. On the right-hand side wall of the vestibule adjacent to the column of jade pillars, the son of the goddess Isis, the god Horus wearing the Upper and Lower Egyptian crown, took the hand of Nefertari and introduced him to Ra-Horikti, who is sitting on the throne on the back wall. Ra-Horikti means Horus across the horizon, representing the state of the sun god rising from the sky. Behind Ra-Horikti is Hathor, the goddess of love, beauty, music, dance, and the Western world. In all of these scenes, Nefertari is a beautiful and compelling protagonist. She has large almond-shaped eyes heavily outlined with eyeliner, full lips, rouged cheeks, and pierced ears with elaborate earrings. In many scenes, she wears the vulture headdress typical of royal mothers. In ancient Egyptian, the vulture was called MWT, and those eiders also spelled the word mother. There were very few true portraits in ancient Egypt. The face is usually monochromatic, but here you can see that Nefertari's cheeks are redder and have a gradient of color. It's almost as if the moment was captured in time. In addition, she is a well-proportioned woman. The draped gown showcased her graceful figure. These pleated and translucent effects are carefully rendered in brushwork in shades of white and gray. Above the entrance to the side chamber is the Vulture Goddess Neibet, whose outstretched wings are covered with elaborately painted feathers, and whose talons hold rings of eternal protection. Actually, this is a symmetrical image inside and out, and the same Vulture Goddess image can also be seen on the other side of the entrance to the side chamber. On both sides of the entrance to the side chambers are the mirrored images of the goddess Ma'at, the goddess of truth and cosmic order. Plants representing the sea of reeds in heaven are drawn in the space above the head of the goddess Ma'at. Let's appreciate murals from the right side firstly. The first scene is the goddess Isis and Nephthys standing on either side of the sun god Ra, offering their magical healing powers to him. The god Ra here is easily mistaken for the god Khnum. But according to the hieroglyphic text on the wall, it can be known that the god Ra is depicted here, and Ra will become Osiris, Osiris will become Ra, and Ra is in a state of fusion with Osiris, that is, rebirth. And the red girdle reminds us again of Nefertari, who was blessed by the power of rebirth and possibly merged with the two gods. A yellow vertical line on the same wall separates this scene from the ones that follow. Once again, we see Nefertari in a dressy, translucent dress and elaborate ceremonial bracelets, with a graceful figure and rosy cheeks that bring the picture to life. The Grand Queen is paying homage to the 7 cows and 1 bull on the adjacent wall. This is a scene from chapter 148 of the Book of the Dead, where the text on the wall records the names of these sacred cows. For example, much loved, red-haired, etc. These sacred cows have special markings that have been carefully selected. At the bottom of the holy cow picture, you can see 4 rudder paddles, representing the 4 corners of the sky. Here, I share an exclusive discovery. In the Lost Book of Enki by Zacharias Sitchin, on the 6th lapis lazuli tablet once recorded the legend of God's creation of primitive humans. 7 female Anunnaki from the planet Nibiru bravely took on the work of conceiving synthetic human embryos, becoming the first human surrogate mothers. Their names will be remembered forever. Ninima, Shuziana, Ninmata, Ninbara, Ninmog, Muzardu, and Ningana. In ancient Egypt, these brave human mothers were represented by 7 sacred cows. Continuing to look at the adjacent wall, we can see Nefertari presenting rich food offerings to the Egyptian god of creation, Atum. Offerings included live cattle, chunks of beef, bread, a basket of grapes, vegetables, and 3 smoking braziers. Wearing a double crown representing the authority of Upper and Lower Egypt, the god Atum sits on a carefully drawn throne. Behind him is a fan attached to the Shin ring representing eternal protection. It is also the dividing line between the 2 groups of independent narrative pictures in the side room. Now go back to the entrance of the side room and enjoy the sacrifice scene on the other side. First, Nefertari stands in front of a table and presents a hieroglyph representing cloth or 2 intertwined threads to the god Ptah. This may be related to Ptah's contribution to DNA research in the creation of primitive humans. In the picture, the god Ptah is standing in a shrine woven of reeds, holding a composite scepter in the style of a jed pillars, and there is an open shutter in front of him. Behind him is a huge jed pillars. On the adjacent wall, the hieroglyphic text from chapter 94 of the Book of the Dead can be seen. The text tells how Nefertari would ask the god of writing and wisdom, Tot, for wisdom in the mystery of life. The god Tot sits on his throne with a scepter and a symbol of life in his hands. On the table between Nefertari and the god Tot are writing instruments and a frog representing the goddess Hecate, the goddess of reproduction and life form transformation. They represent that the god Tot has bestowed wisdom and the mysteries of life on Nefertari. On the back wall adjacent to the god Tot, Nefertari is offering rich food offerings to the 4 sons of Horus and Osiris. The scenes are highly similar and symmetrical with the scene on the other side of the back wall. The only difference is that 5 smoking braziers can be seen above the offerings here, corresponding to the 5 deities. At this point, we have seen all the murals on the basement level. In the next episode, we will complete the tour of Nefertari's tomb, including murals along staircase B and in the burial chamber.